great speaker presenter here today. It's Aaliyah. She is like a rock star, phenomenal. So if you are focusing on social media growth this year, which so many of us are, she's going to share some really awesome tips that are not like the norm that you've been hearing online. So this is another way of thinking about doing your business that I think is really accessible to everybody. And she's been super successful doing it. 5 years in the business, over 180 deals done. And she also, on top of being a full-time agent, has about 600 coaching clients in social media. So without further ado, I'm going to let Aaliyah take over and share with us her secret sauce here. Thank you so much for being here, Aaliyah.
What's up, Aaliyah? Really quick, guys.
Hey there.
I mean, one of the reasons we wanted to do this, Amy and I were talking about getting super granular. Like, it's easy to just say social media should be a part of your business, but as we know, social media is basically human communication these days. Like, it's how we all communicate and connect and ingest the universe. So the question was, how do we get really granular and find people who are just crushing it at certain aspects of social media? And that's Aaliyah's crushing it. So she's going to share some of those like tips and tricks and secrets. And it's just one of those things where if you're struggling because like the pizza box advertising or the old like college football schedule that used to send out with your picture on it is no longer doing it for you, as we all know, the world has just changed. And so super cool opportunity to hear from somebody who's crushing it on one very specific aspect of social media.
Yeah, really cool. Great. I should mention
thank
too,
you, guys.
Amy was sick today, guys. So that's why I'm a replacement Amy. So, all right. Thanks so much, Aaliyah.
All righty. Well, I'll take it away. Hi, everybody. My name's Aaliyah Karras. I am a licensed agent and business coach, as they just mentioned. I'm down in the States in Ohio, and I am, of course, a full-time agent. So I'm still fully operating with buyers and sellers at this time. But over the last year and a half, I've gotten into the coaching side of the business, specifically because I saw a need to teach agents how to get business on social media without what most other social media experts are teaching, which is posting lots of reels, being a trendy influencer, coming up with content, the stuff that many of us as agents, one, didn't sign up for the job to do, and two, struggle to do consistently when we're in the bulk of our business. So the reason I wanted to teach that is because that's how I grew a lot of my business. I am someone that's rooted in a lot of traditional real estate strategies and skills. I'm all about conversations. When I first got my real estate license, I challenged myself to have 22-way conversations every single day as a 21-year-old in the business. And that got me out of my comfort zone really quick and got me to the place where I decided I was going to try to have those conversations on social media because I was struggling to have them either in person or getting people on the phone. So over the last 5 years, I've developed some strategies that have allowed me to not only close deals and, get leads and build a pipeline from social media, but that have really transformed my business, that have given me security in terms of sustainability. And I've been able to do it without having to, again, do all the trendy reels and try to figure out what content is going well and hoping that I go viral, which none of that, in my opinion, is a strategy that is going to consistently bring in deals. So today, I'm not going to be talking about my entire Instagram strategy. I do have strategies for all the different components of social, including...
Hello?
Can you hear me?
Oh, hi. Good morning. This is Mary Ann.
Oh, we've got someone needs to be
Hello,
muted.
Mary Ann. My name is...
Old straight cold calling
I'm
on
calling
RocketFuel,
from
which
Real
is
Home
awesome.
Experts, Real Broker.
We should probably just listen and see what happens. Maybe Natalie can find it, but that is awesome.
Okay. Can you guys hear me now?
Yeah, you're good.
Okay. Sorry about that. So I have strategies that I teach for direct messages, how to build connections there. I do have content strategies and all sorts of strategies. Amy had reached out to me to come on today and talk specifically about an Instagram story strategy that I've been sharing a lot on my business coaching page, and that has really been a force in driving leads in my business. So we're specifically today going to be talking about Instagram stories. If you're on Instagram, you're probably familiar with stories. If you're not on Instagram, I will do a small kind of overview of what those are, but I'm going to dive straight in so that we can get to the meat and potatoes, give you guys some actual examples and some things that you can implement in your business this week. Okay. Alrighty, so I am sharing my screen just as a little recap. Again, here's a little bit more about me. If while we're sitting here, you want to check out my Instagrams, if you'd like, I do have some stories live there. So Living with Aaliyah is my real estate page. That's where I work to build my business on the real estate side of things. And then Business of Real Estate is my coaching page. So feel free to take a note of that. And then again, one of the things I just wanted to harp on here before we jump in is my whole goal is to teach you how to get business from social media without having to do all of the trendy, fluffy, vanity metric type stuff, and really focusing on how do we build actual organic connections and relationships with locals in our community.
What part of Ohio do you practice?
I'm in Central Ohio, so Columbus.
Okay, cool.
Yep. Okay, so Instagram stories. All right, so Instagram stories are the 24-hour long forms of content that go up on your page that are not posted to your main profile. They don't stay there for years and years and years. They are simply content that can appear on your Instagram for viewers that last 24 hours. If you're on Instagram and Facebook have stories as well, you know that this is a place where you can foster great engagement, interaction. It's also a bit more of a casual spot on Instagram. So instead of formal reels or professional headshots, stories tend to be what I call the conversation place inside of Instagram when it comes to content. It's a place where we can share more casually what we're doing. We can keep our friends and family and the people that follow us updated. And I'm going to be showing you guys today how we can take that and actually approach stories with more purpose, more intention to not only foster better engagement, but to ask the right questions, share the right interactive tools to actually capture leads. Okay. Now, just so you guys know, stories are the thing that generates about 50% of the leads that I get on Instagram. The other, I would say 40% is from my direct message strategy, and about only 10% of my leads that I get actually come from the content that I post, which is kind of counterintuitive to what most social media experts and other real estate agents are teaching on Instagram. So stories and DMs are the way that I like to run my business. So the power of stories, I'm going to break down stories and kind of talk about why they're so important. And then we're going to dive into my story sequencing method and how to actually apply it into your business. So one of the reasons that I love Instagram stories, and I've loved them from the day that I started trying to get business on Instagram, is that Instagram stories, unlike most of our just typical content, right? Our photos that we're posting, the videos and the reels we're sharing, stories offer the ability to use interactive tools. Interactive tools are, simply put, things like polls, question boxes, things like that, where people can actually engage with you without necessarily having to have a conversation. And one of the reasons that I love these is because when you have stories and you're sharing content on your stories that is genuinely engaging, that's not that icky, salesy, realtor, direct ask for business, it really is a great place where we can foster that genuine engagement and get people to start engaging with us. So one of the things I've heard since the first day I joined Instagram over 5 years ago from my friends and my family is how much they enjoy my Instagram stories. They love voting on my polls. They love engaging with me there. And even if they're not ready to buy or sell, it's a place where they feel like they're in a constant dialogue with me. So I wanted to show just an example of the power of that component of stories, the interactive tool, which allows us to not only ask questions and get people to engage, but can also foster conversations in the direct messages. So for example, this story that I posted, and this is a real story that I used on my page. I posted it on a Monday. It was after a great weekend of real estate. And I shared that I wrote 3 offers for 3 different buyers. It's home buying season. Who else is planning to buy a home before the end of summer? And giving people options to say me, maybe, or not me. So when I scroll up, so it's a little bit hard to explain on just the computer here, but when people click on your poll, you can actually see who answers the poll. And so I was able to see here that just for the people that voted me, there were 4 people that voted that they're also planning to buy a home before the end of summer. So this right here, this simple poll gives me the opportunity to then say, okay, these people are raising their hand. I'm going to reach out to them in the direct messages and continue the conversation, ask if they're working with a real estate agent, and work to convert them, which is again part of some other strategies that I teach in the direct messages. These kinds of stories are also really engaging and may even encourage people to message you directly. So this person actually messaged me and said that they're manifesting a home, right? And so then I'm able to start reaching out. So that's the power of an interactive tool versus, say, just a photo that you post of a new listing, a photo that you post of yourself or your dog or whatever you're doing. When you use these interactive tools, you can get people engaging. And when you ask the right questions, we can get people engaging as well. Now, it's not always just this simple. So I'm going to actually show you now my signature method, which is the story sequencing method. So over the years, what I've learned and realized is that people love to feel like they're a part of our world. Even when they're not buying and selling homes, we know people love houses. They love shopping on Zillow. They love keeping up with their local market. And so what I like to do is to post sequences of stories. So multiple photos or videos in a row that bring my audience along on an engaging journey for the day. So typically, these story sequences start with an engaging story where I'm really speaking directly to my audience. So for example, in this story sequence, I was sharing that I got a property under contract on a gorgeous new condo, and I wanted to show my audience how awesome the property is. You could also incorporate, a fun, engaging poll that says, show us the property, or like, so excited for your client, congrats. So again, we have this starting initial hook, and then we take them through the rest of the story. And what I'm going to be showing you today are 7 different ways that we can approach story sequences with things that are going on in our business day to day to generate leads. And the cool part here is, again, you can see who is actually engaging with your stories. So again, I'm getting 50 or 60 people that are engaging here with these stories, even if they're not quite ready to buy or sell. Again, that's them taking a little bit of initiative to think about me, creating that mind share so that when they are ready to buy and sell, they're going to remember that real estate agent that they've been engaging with on Instagram for the last 6 months, year, 2 years, even 5 years now. And then, of course, towards the end of the sequence, once we've got our people engaging and excited about what we're sharing, then we move into the lead capture component. So that is what I'm going to be breaking down for you guys here today. We're going to be going over a bunch of examples. So the story sequence method, again, just to kind of cover it overall, and then we're going to dive in, is posting multiple stories at one time, typically 3 to 10 stories. And again, it's back to back to back. So when you're sitting down to post your stories for the day, we're no longer just sharing the most recent photo on our camera roll. We're no longer just taking a picture, of the food we're eating and saying, having a great dinner at this restaurant. We're approaching stories with the intention to engage, foster attention and interaction, as well as capturing leads. Within those sequences, we're using strong hooks, strong language, and we're also focusing on, keyword here, non-salesy engagement. So one of the things that your stories are really meant to do is to get people that are not ready to buy or sell right now, today or tomorrow, to engage with you. So we want to use this sequence to start building that connection, to make people feel a part of our world. And then we hit them at the end with that lead capturing question, poll, call to action, so that those few people that are finally ready that day when they see your story are going to engage and raise their hand, and then we can go and convert them. So I am going to show you guys, and this is actually a free resource that I offer. So if you guys are wanting the PDF, I can send this to you guys to send out to the group. But I'm going to go ahead and show you guys some different ways that we can create story sequences and how we can do lead capture within that. Okay, so the first type of story sequence that I love, love, love to use is new listing sequences. And we all know that, again, people love houses. Even if they're not ready to buy or sell, they love to see what's available. And we can use new listings, whether they're our own listing or with permission, sharing a listing of another agent. We can use new listings to engage people and capture attention. And keyword there, remember, always, always, always get permission from the listing agent and, of course, the seller prior to sharing anything and making sure you're following your guidelines for marketing those kinds of listings. So new listing stories, what are we doing here? We're sharing properties that match the desire or the need of our ideal client. So I like to go on my local MLS, look up and see what are some new listings. If I don't personally have a new listing that's up that day, which ones are price point, location, and even just the aesthetic that I know that my audience would like, right? So if you're working with first-time home buyers, downsizers, what kind of property would they be looking for? What does your audience look like? And then what we can do is share engaging stories to showcase that new listing. And then again, use lead capturing questions, calls to actions, and polls at the end to get people to engage, okay? So on this PDF, again, I actually have an exact example of how you can do this in your first slides today if you'd like. So finding a listing that you'd like to share, sharing that you want to showcase this new listing. Let's play some listing trivia. Again, asking questions, how many bedrooms does this house have? What do you think the price of this house is? What do you think of XYZ feature of the property? And so we're engaging them here. And then we can ask questions like, would you buy a home like this? Or if you're looking for a property in 2025, is this something that would be similar to what you'd like, right? Asking those kinds of questions. And then at the end, having some sort of a call to action where we say, if you are interested, reply with the word interested, and I'll send you the link, or I will get in touch with you and provide you more details. So that is the first type of story sequence that we can easily use. And again, remember, you don't have to have a brand new listing to do this. You can wake up in the morning, reach out to an agent, get permission to share, and make this story sequence within a few minutes.
Hey guys, really quick, what she's sharing here is super important from a number of vantage points, but one of them being, I think the challenge with social media is it's a very image-driven medium where like people engage because of what they see. And so a lot of the limiting belief that agents have is if they don't have something worth seeing, there is nothing to post. And this has been the bedrock of our marketing and advertising on Facebook for a really long time is like, we'll have listings, but we don't even feature them because they're gross. Like they're just not something that's going to stop somebody on their social scroll. And so we know that from a social media perspective, the number one clicked upon image on the internet is attractive people. We don't encourage people to use themselves as bait, even if they are super attractive. But number two is things related to houses, backyards, kitchens, master bedrooms, like exterior of homes. Like we have that advantage. And so what she's talking about is so important because even if you don't have it in your catalog, it's so easy to reach out to an agent and say, hey, I'd love to feature your property on my Instagram stories today. Are you cool with that? And like now you get all of the validity of your friends and followers and people that see your content thinking you have this asset when in reality, you're just borrowing it from somebody else. So it's such a cool and important principle.
Exactly. And I am so glad you brought that up because I often feel that way. For example, I just posted one today on my stories where I got a client in contract yesterday and the house is not my favorite home, but I shared it. And I was literally thinking this morning, I probably could have actually gone and found a different listing, not even shared my own under contract, and maybe had even more engagement because the house that my client's buying isn't necessarily that dream aesthetic or look that captures attention. So that's totally accurate.
Well, and to point out, like, I have two daughters and like, I am very cautious about security. And like every once in a while, you'll see people do what you're doing with stories, but they use their own image. And you're like, wow, they're super attractive. But like, that's such a dangerous path to go down. And so guys, I hope you're picking up that what she's leveraging here is not her own appearance. It's like the attractiveness of a house, which is the right thing to do, because then you're getting engagement for the right reasons. Because I've talked to agents who are like, yeah, all I get in my stories is like creepy guys. And I'm like, well, maybe there's a reason behind that. So anyways, I'll get off my soapbox, but security is super important, but you can still benefit from the principle of attraction by using the right type of attraction.
Exactly. And we're going to go over a couple more ways to do that, whether it's with listings, whether it's with a couple other things. So I'm excited to share with you guys for that. So that's the new listing sequence. We also have like what's going on in our world of real estate. So if you do get a house under contract or your listing that is beautiful that you want to showcase, if you're showing a beautiful property and you want to showcase that property, again, getting that permission from the agent, those are things where instead of just posting off to a showing today, one story, thinking that's going to generate business, we're actually going to say, okay, I'm going to take this listing that I just put under contract or that I just showed, and I'm going to actually use that with intention today to try to drive traffic and get a lead. So for example, this sequence here, I shared another property that I had gotten under contract. It was a gorgeous condo in a great area, and I knew it would get a lot of business and a lot of hits. And this sequence, again, where I'm just showing different features, I know it's a little bit hard to see exactly what I've got listed here, but showing different features, engaging people. What do you think of the staircase? What do you think of the living room? And at the end asking, are you going to be looking for something similar in the next year or two? This one story sequence actually generated 10 lead opportunities for my business, 3 of which I was able to convert into a phone call. So just from showcasing this on my story, and instead of just posting, even take away the whole, safety and security, people don't really care if all you're posting is, I just got this new house in contract. Look at me. Look at me. It's, yeah, I just got this house in contract, but look how awesome the house is. And look at how I got to help my client. I used this client in another example where she was an independent single woman, bought a home, and I was able to use that in another story. Again, being cautious of fair housing, but using that to say, hey, this is someone that's an independent single woman. If you're that too, we can make this your reality. So really amazing stuff that we can do. And again, inside this free PDF that I'll get to the team here so they can share it with you guys, I again have examples of exactly what you guys can say. And the key here is when people raise their hand in that final story and say, I'm looking for something similar, that's when you reach out and start the conversation in the DMs. Okay, a couple other examples. So again, these are new listing examples as well. I have more in here for you guys to check out. One of my favorites is actually client reviews, okay? And client reviews is something that we all as real estate agents strive to get because again, people can go on, our Google, our Zillow, all those things and see the reviews that people are leaving for us, but we can also use them as marketing. One of the things that I hate on social media, just like how I'm not a huge fan of like just listed and just sold graphics, are graphics that have a review and really nothing else. But we can use our stories and really sharing the emotional connection we had to the client and how meaningful their review is to generate business. So this first one is actually the example I was just talking about with that client who bought that condo. And I shared in my first story here, just how amazing it is to get to work with people that appreciate what I do and also getting a great review from them. And then I shared how I bought my home as an independent woman 3 years ago, and I love helping other people do the same. And that was the case with this client. And so I went on to share the review, thanking that client. And then asking again, if you're an independent woman who wants to make homeownership your reality, where are you at? Right. And then people can say here, I hope this can be me or one day. Right. And then I'm able to respond back to the people that said here and say, great. Are you working with an agent? How's the process going? Would you like to get started? Same thing here. When your client leaves you the nicest review, literally I was tearing up. I know it feels probably a little bit cringy. I look back and look at these pictures and I'm like, did I post that? But people love to see that authentic connection. I shared the review that my client left. And then I said, are you thinking about moving in the next 1 to 2 years? And then I put a genuine note of, if you're genuinely having a real estate need, I want to connect, respond to this poll, and let's get started. And so lots of people were able to respond. I'm able to reach out and build that connection. So even as simple as using our reviews to generate business can be so, so great. And then finally is education. So every once in a while, it is really important to showcase your knowledge as an agent. So every single day, I'm not getting on stories or on my page and just sharing tons of facts or info, because I know the majority, probably 95% of my audience, is not buying a home today. But what I do want to do is mix in some content that is heavily education based, that shows my skill, my knowledge, that shows that I'm here to support people, so that the people that have been engaging for months and months and months, that are starting to think about buying, that are on the verge of maybe reaching out, can see my content and say, not only is she relatable, she, speaks to me, she's sharing great listings, she's active in the market, but she's also really bright and really smart and knows what she's talking about. So I love to do sequences like this, where I basically, again, take conversations that I'm having in real life and say, what have I been talking about recently, right? What have I been speaking with my sellers about, my buyers, my ideal client? And how can I share that information in a way where if other people are similar to them, it's going to make an impact and I can capture a lead. So again, I started this story sequence for the day saying, I've had 5 conversations in the last few weeks with people who are thinking about buying a home in 2025. They keep asking for the best steps to take this fall and winter. So I'm going to share them with you. Right? Step 1, financial planning. And I ask a question about, does the financial aspect of buying a home scare you? Right? And so people can answer, yes, it does. No, I feel great with my finances, right? So I can start to see who's engaging. Timeline, creating a must-want list. Again, you can put whatever you want here. You could share tons more detail. You could make this even more simple. But the goal is that you're educating in an engaging way that's not super salesy. And then again, having the ability to ask, is becoming a homeowner part of your 2025 plans, right? And the answer results are me, possibly, maybe, probably not. And then even having the opportunity for them to reach out directly to you by saying, hey, if you are planning on moving, now's the time to prepare. Reply to this story 2025 and we'll start the conversation. And again, you can go in and actually see who is there on your page. Okay. And then finally, speaking to your ideal client. So when we're speaking to our ideal client, we can also really connect with them personally. So one of the things that I like to do is to add a bit of a personal flair. So I like to have stories that relate to real estate, that relate to my life, that maybe aren't as quote unquote real estate in their face. It's not new listings. It's not education, but it's something about me still connected to the world of real estate that can make that genuine connection between me and my audience. So for example, I love sharing about my home that I bought and renovated, because that is a story that most people can relate to, whether they've bought a home themselves or they're wanting to buy a home. So I love to share the story of how I bought my first condo when I was in my early 20s and I renovated it, and what that process was like, and how it's so amazing to be able to transform your own space. I've done dozens of story sequences with that same concept, because a lot of people, they want to find something small, a condo, a small home, turn it into their place that they love. They don't need this massive thing. And that's who my audience is. And so I'm able to share that, making dreams and visions come alive is what I'm here to do. I've done it for myself and I'm ready to service you, and asking people, to engage. So saying, coming home to a place that you love is the best feeling, right? And then getting them to either answer, I want this feeling, or I can't wait to buy my first home. These are conversation starters that I can then reach out and say, are you planning on buying? Where are you at in the process? So that, again, I have examples here of how you can make that your reality. And then finally is market insights. So the last one I'm going to share with you, I think goes along with the educational one. But I also love to just share any market info that's important for my ideal client. And that's different than just saying, hey guys, interest rates are 7%, or hey guys, homes are selling above asking, or things are competitive. People don't really know what that means. You have to explain it in lay terms. So I like to actually go on the MLS and take images of different searches that I'm pulling and say, hey, there's X amount of homes available in this pocket of Central Ohio. What does that mean for you, right? And there's actually this many condos available. And here's how the condo market looks right now for people that are thinking about potentially moving. And so we're able to, again, ask these kinds of questions and then end with a lead capturing poll. So for example, with this one, I said, if you're planning to move in the next year, was this helpful? And I had 15 people that said yes to that, right? That's 15 people that potentially are moving in the next year, right? They answered that because they are. So I'm able to reach out and start the conversation. Not all of them may be leads, but a handful might be, and I can add them to my pipeline and continue to nurture them. So let me go back to my story sequencing method here. So to recap, what is a story sequence? A story sequence is sharing multiple stories in a row, back to back to back, with the intention of fostering engagement and capturing a lead. We have to make sure that we're using, and I like to call it magnetic language, but a lot of agents talk to their audience as if their audience is real estate agents. Most people don't know the verbiage we use. We have to really dumb things down and over explain things, and also use words and phrases that our audience can relate to, using those non-salesy hooks, getting people to vote on whether they like a staircase, whether they'd have that layout in their next house, right? Is this your style? Is it not? Those are ways where it's people don't feel defensive answering that. They don't think you're trying to get something from them. They're just excited to answer because they love houses. And then finally, end of that sequence. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, how do you walk the line? Because this is such a good point. Like, number one, we speak a vernacular that is just common to us. Like if I say like, oh, I was looking on the MLS because I needed to make a CMA and I, wanted to shoot it over to a client using whatever. And it's like, holy crap, that's like completely realtor, very specific lingo.
Yep.
And you don't want to talk to people like they're stupid. So it's like,
Yep.
You don't want to assume everybody understands your vernacular and lingo, but at the same time, you don't want to talk to people like they're idiots. So,
Yep.
And maybe you're going to get to that, but it's like walking that line between not just using our lingo, expecting everyone to understand it, and not talking to people like they're idiots.
Yeah, well, and I'll use like a simple example that I'm actually going to hopefully be getting some more content out about, because I'm really passionate about this topic, because I think so many agents are actually, they've got great content, they've got great intention, but the language they're using, people are skipping right over your content, your posts, because they don't even know you're speaking to them. I mean, it's so common. So a great example is oftentimes with real estate agents content, as I'm scrolling Instagram, as I'm on my own stories, I see agents all the time saying something along the lines of, if you're planning to buy, do this thing, or like, if you're buying in 2025, here's what you need to know, or something like that. And my first thing is like, if I was just a person that really didn't know you well, that just followed you, and there's lots of ways we can get followers, and that's something that I teach. But if I just saw that and I didn't know you were in real estate, I would be like, what are they buying? Where are they buying it? When are they buying it? Right? Like that doesn't, even if I was buying a home tomorrow, if I saw that and I wasn't a real estate agent, I probably would have no idea what that means. And so what I always encourage people to do is to think about, again, who is the person or the ideal client you want to speak to? And you might have multiple of them, right? Like maybe you want to speak to first-time buyers. Maybe you want to speak to move-up buyers, downsizers. You can talk to all of them. And in one post, maybe you say something like, if you were newly engaged over the last 6 months of 2024, and you and your partner are thinking about buying a home in 2025, here are 3 things I would do to make sure that that becomes your reality, right? That is going to catch someone's attention who's in that phase of life. Yes, it's going to push away everybody else who's not newly engaged, but it's going to actually capture someone. And then the next day you can use language that says something like, if your youngest child just flocked the nest and you're becoming an empty nester in 2025, here are 3 reasons why you may considering starting to plan your downsize move now, right? That is so much more powerful than saying, if you're going to be buying, here's 3 things to know. 2 completely different takes on the same concept. As for your question on, the MLS and things like that, oftentimes I simply will use the language that we use as agents, but again, in parentheses or down below, I'll make a note that says something like, this morning I was searching the MLS, in parentheses, the home searching engine of Columbus Real Estate for properties so that I could create a home valuation, or so that I could provide a client with the value of their property, right? We can kind of simplify it in those ways. So what I encourage you to do just here on this short call, because obviously I can't have a full coaching session with all of you now, but what I would encourage you to do when you're thinking of your language and walking that line is to really reflect and say, if I wasn't a real estate agent, if I didn't know who this content came from and it just appeared in my face, what would I think seeing this? Would this speak to me, or would I just continue, sliding by? So that's my quick tip on language. And just to finish up my point prior to, the final component of the lead capturing story sequence is to ask a lead capturing question. And it's okay to ask a salesy question or to be direct and say, do you have plans to move? But we tend to get better engagement and people raising their hands after they've gone through a sequence where they've gotten comfortable engaging with you before, and where they've gotten comfortable engaging with you maybe months and months before, right? So like they've been engaging with you for 4 months on most of your stories. You finally ask that lead capturing poll the night before them and their partner had been talking about how they want to move. That time they might raise their hand and click the button. And that's when we can get in there and start to build our pipeline.
So good.
So that is it that I have in terms of education for the day. So I'm happy to answer questions and then share with you guys additional resources for this specific strategy.
Yeah. So one question here, automations, like are you using ManyChat? Are you using AI at all to write some of your copy? Like what are some of the automated tools that you're using?
Yeah. So I have 2 different schools of thought on AI and automation. And my business has shifted a lot over the recent years. When I was first starting out and talking to lots and lots and lots of people, which I still do now, I was heavily trying to leverage AI and things like that. However, when it came to Instagram, I found that the more automated I became, the less results I was getting, because it really does take genuine connection. So when it comes to my real estate business, so my Living with Aaliyah Instagram, when I'm out there trying to get leads, I actually don't use ManyChat. The reason for it is that even with, I have about 6,000 followers, it takes time, first of all, to build connection. So for most of you, if you haven't done this consistently for, I would say, at least a year or 2, you're probably not going to be getting 10 leads on every story you post, right? At this point, I probably could implement ManyChat into my business because I've grown it so sustainably. But most of the time, I recommend that you're actually hands-on in your stories, looking at who's responding, sending an actual DM with their name that's personalized. And I know that takes time, but that is true lead generation. I'd rather you do that, in my opinion, than going and cold calling a list of phone numbers if you're genuinely building real connection. Now, for example, on my coaching business, I've got about 50,000 followers on that account. And I get hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of inquiries a day. And so, yes, I do use ManyChat and I do leverage AI specifically for DMs and conversations with that. But as for captions and coming up with ideas, yes, I am a huge fan of leveraging AI technology in a way that is still genuine and authentic. So I typically don't have ChatGPT, for example, write out a full caption for me or just take anything that it says and copy and paste. But I do use it heavily to create prompts and to create polls and to use it as a base and a starting point. So what I typically recommend is, for example, if you have, let's say you find a listing that's in a great area at a great price point, you could go into ChatGPT and say, I am a real estate agent. I have this property that I want to be showcasing on my Instagram stories today. I want to ask 4 engaging questions about this property based on the condition, this, and this. Please provide me a list of 15 options of questions that I could ask and the potential answers that could be in there. And I do that all the time. And I get 15, 20 ideas, pick the ones that I like, and then I'm going in and manually inputting it and adjusting it for my business, for my leads. So that's how I use it.
Yeah, no, I love that. And I'm not sure what your thoughts are. Like writing is not a talent of mine. If I had to given the choice to speak in front of like 10,000 people or write a 2-page document expressing my feelings, like I would choose speaking every day. And so like for any of you guys curious about AI and in like ChatGPT, I'll use it as a framework. So I'll go in there and I'll say, hey, from a real estate agent perspective, create some thoughts around this. And then I'll just completely edit everything it says. But I'll at least use it as framework for either an Instagram post or some concept I'm coming up with. And so I think that what she's talking about, I think as we get more intelligent around this, we're learning how to leverage it to maybe make up for either our weaknesses or the brainless things. Like for me, writing is not something I'm super great at. And so I'll use it to supplement that weakness, where if you struggle to come up with concepts or ideas,
you might be able to say in there like, hey, from a home buyer's perspective in 2025, come up with a list of potential answers to concerns around interest rates and why now might be a good time to buy, even though interest rate. And it'll kick out a whole bunch of things. And then you can modify it. You can do whatever you want. But it's just like, I wouldn't use AI to replace me, but I would use it to supplement some of my weaknesses, possibly.
100%. That's exactly how I use it.
So good. What I love about this strategy is that there are like no excuses for this. Like you can't be like, oh, my hair isn't done, or like, like no excuses for not showing up. Like you could literally after this call, like everyone should go and do this, like and try this story sequence out. I think that that's so what makes it so great. You have zero excuse like for not to do this and implement like right away today. Yep. And I saw something on your Instagram page too that I thought maybe you could speak to, and just about like the results from it, because not to be like the results will come, but like not to say, oh, I did it, it didn't work, like right, like yep. Could you speak a little bit to that?
I'm so glad you shared that, because I wanted to end with that point, which is I have agents that I work with all the time that are inside some of my programs, even one-on-one coaching students, and they'll go out and they'll post one of these story sequences and then they won't get the engagement that they think they should. And then they come to me and they're like, okay, well, I did it and it didn't work. And I'm like, okay, well, when you cold call, right, do you get a hot lead the first day you cold call people? No, you probably get hung up on about 100 times and maybe have one decent conversation that you're like high-fiving someone about. It's the same thing with Instagram stories. So yes, when I started posting stories, I was focused not on the end result. And that's actually something I teach with all my strategies, is to focus on the activity, knowing the end result will come. But focusing on the idea of like every single day when you show up and you're consistently building a brand, even if it's not some super curated, aesthetically pleasing brand, but you're consistently there, educating, engaging, involving your audience. The more you do that, the more your audience will begin to trust you and the more that they're going to respond. So a lot of these people probably sat and saw my stories for months and months and months and never engaged. And then for whatever reason, they began to engage, right? Maybe they weren't quite ready to buy or sell, but they began to be caught by something. And then maybe a few months after that, that's when they first raised their hand on that story post. So if you go out on the first day and your audience has never engaged with you in this way, first of all, the algorithm isn't even going to show your stories to a lot of people. You have to consistently show up for the algorithm to know that you're there and you're worth promoting. But you have to build that trust. And then once you build that trust and you engage with those people back, then you're going to start to see results. So I would say you've got to be consistent, like anything in real estate. I would say at least 90 days of showing up without expectation of anything. And then if you're not getting any results, that's when we can look and say, okay, where do we need to make tweaks? Is it our language that we're using? Is it our verbiage? Is it the images, right? Because we can't just do it one time and say, well, it didn't work. Nothing. Well, you cannot be in real estate if you do that.
Well, and to your point, guys, if you need business tomorrow, go knock doors today. Mm-hmm. And if you don't want to knock doors, then hold an open house. And if you don't want to hold an open house, stand on the side of a corner with a sign that just says, I sell real estate for a living. Like, but just like going to the gym or eating healthy, what you're preaching is not fix tomorrow. It's fix your business for the long term. And that's 100%. So hard to do when you're in a desperate situation of like, oh, that's cool. I'm considering like selling my feet on OnlyFans. Like it's like, this isn't to fix tomorrow. This is to fix your business over the long haul.
And that's such a great point, because I even shared with a lot of my students a couple of weeks ago, the first 10 days of 2025, I set 6 buyer consultations and 2 listing consultations from Instagram. None of those leads were random people that reached out to me that day. Those were all people that I had been nurturing for months and months, and some of them even years on social media. And so I do think there is this common misconception with a lot of the agents out there that are teaching social media, where it's just post this reel and you'll get a bunch of random strangers. That's never happened for me. I think in my 5 years and 180 plus deals and hundreds and probably thousands of leads, I've maybe had 2 people randomly see a reel and reach out. It just doesn't. Yeah. Maybe it works for them. It doesn't work for me like that. I don't think it works for the majority of agents.
Yeah. So a couple of questions on here. Yeah. How often do you sequence I'll just kind of
Mhm.
rapid fire these questions at you.
Yeah.
How often do you do sequence stories per week?
I try to do them 4 to 5 days a week.
Okay.
Yep.
Um, how do you respond to people voting on your polls without sounding spammy or salesy?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I could go on for probably hours on on this whole method. I think the first thing is one, it depends on who they are, right? If it's someone that's a friend of yours, someone that you know personally, your initial reach out message is going to be different than maybe someone that's a total stranger. But I am someone, if you haven't picked up, I like to be direct and to the point. I try to be efficient. So I typically reach out with something along the lines of, hi, so and so. Thank you so much for engaging with my poll. Your engagement, means a lot to me. I saw that you mentioned you were XYZ, and then typically asking a question that's related, that's direct but not super salesy, right? How is that process going? Have you started the process yet? Tell me more about the house that you're looking at, right? So it's going to depend for every sequence of what that looks like, but typically it's an initial thank and gratitude. I saw that you commented this. Here's my next question for you. And my goal with direct messages is always to not just say, I'd love to connect, period, and see what they say, always ending that with a question to get them engaging back to you.
Well, and this goes back to Phil Jones, guys. So many of you have read exactly what to say, and it's all about people do things for their own reasons and not yours.
So any of your engagement post response is not to then deliver more of your thoughts and ideas on a concept. It's to get their feelings, opinions, and needs addressed. Mark points out something really good here. How do you attract non-agents to your page? Like, this has always been something that I think is funny, is if I post content and I mean for it to be consumed and appreciated by a potential home buyer or seller, and I have realtors hitting me up like, bro, this is fire, I actually know I've done the wrong thing. And that's something that we may not get. Like, guys, you may post something and then all these realtors are hitting you up like, girl, you're crushing it. That's a sign that you've caught the wrong fish. Like, the bait that you put out there attracted the wrong thing. So how do you then focus on getting consumers and not just agents going like, oh my gosh, girl, you're crushing it? Like, how do you walk that line?
So again, I actually have a whole program where I teach this because it's so important. I don't actually put my content. I actually don't care how it performs in terms of content is such a small part of what I do. Let me start there. That you're right. There's content that I post where it may hit lots of agents. The way I focus on growing my page is by actually going out and finding people and connecting with them. So I don't sit around waiting for my content to hit the right person. I don't sit around waiting for my post to hit the explore page. I go and find local people. I go and engage with local people. I use engagement techniques with the people that I'm already in relation with, that either I follow or they follow, to tell the algorithm, these are the people I want to be in front of. Even things as small as when on my real estate page, the only real estate agents I follow are the few very close real estate agent friends I have in my market that I want to see their stuff, and then a few of my agent students who I'm constantly in communication with. Other than that, I'm only following local people. I have 5,000 people that I follow. All of them are local. When you engage with those people, the algorithm identifies you as part of that world. It identifies your location, and it even shows your content to more locals. So there's all these little things we can do that are less of the post and pray method and more of the, I'm going to do what I can to take control. And if the algorithm's not going to show my people to locals, I'm going to go insert myself and make sure they see it.
And I think that that's so smart. Guys, one thing that's fun to do, it's kind of like a Russian roulette, but I'll sit around with my buddies and we'll just go like, all right, cool. Pull up your explore feature on your Instagram and just refresh it and show us what it is. Now, there's a few of you that like Anthony in Tampa. I guarantee his explore page on Instagram is golf and Grateful Dead content because I know that's what he's passionate about. For me, it's golf and real estate agent content because for me, those are the two things. If I post like I am not in the consumer content portion of my real estate content journey, I'm all about connecting with agents. So if I go to my explore page on Instagram, it's all golf content and real estate agent content. But that's a really good tip to say, if who you engage with on Instagram,
The content you react to, the DMs you're sending, the messages going back and forth are all real estate agents. And then you post content expecting Instagram to go like, holy crap, this would be really great for consumers, real estate buyers and sellers in Las Vegas. You're crazy because you tell the algorithm who you want to engage with by who you engage with. Am I right?
Yes. And I mean, there's so many other strategies that I could cover. And if you guys have questions on that, I'm happy to share resources on those things. But the key thing here is, yes, that there's a way that you can kind of twist and tweak the algorithm in your favor. But then just like how I'm kind of one of those people, like I've been mentioning this whole time, where I don't want to rely on the algorithm picking up my content and getting it in front of the right people. That's not how you create a sustainable business. I don't want to rely on a social media platform to hopefully bring me business. So my vision, like you mentioned with direct messages and engaging with people, is if I go and send a direct message to someone who's local to my market, to a local business owner, to a local hairstylist, for example, that guarantees they see my profile, they see my name, they click on it. And so that's the strategy I've used. And it's the strategy that's over time allowed me to build the business that I have today.
Hey,
How do
Evie,
you
I have a
find-
couple questions for you based on what you just said there. I have three questions. When you put polls to Instagram, do you also push them to Facebook, and do you work the two of them together? The second question is, you said that you do, try to do 20 reach outs. Just Instagram, or do you do, I think I saw one of your things, you did LinkedIn, you do a couple other ones. And then I think you just answered the third question they had about how you grow your main account, and you grow it by your cold reach outs, your introductions to the public. So yeah, I'm just wondering about Instagram, pushing to Facebook, the sites that you use to engage people, and then how that grows your main account.
Yeah, I'll start with your second question. So Instagram is one of my buckets of lead generation now that I've been in the business for about 5 years. Obviously, past client referrals, sphere of influence, that's also very, very, very important for me. So I do have a whole, list of strategies, as most of you agents do, and talk about in other sessions of how I nurture that community. So with my reach outs and my conversations, I typically have goals around how much of that's going to come from Instagram in a day, and then how much of that is going to be, reaching out to my sphere and all those other places, as well as things like open houses and stuff like that. So I still do those things. Instagram's not the only place I'm actively working, but it's a big component because on top of the fact that there are strangers there, my past clients, my sphere, everybody's also there. So it's another way I can connect with them. To answer your first question on the platforms, so typically my content from Instagram does push to Facebook. I have not really gotten Instagram or stories on Facebook is relatively new. So I do share mine over there and I will look to see who's engaged. I just see a lot less engagement on Facebook. It may also be because I have a smaller Facebook community that's more my private Facebook group. So it's just a smaller group of people. So where I would normally get maybe 1,000 people seeing my story in a day or 500 on Instagram, I might get like 15 on Facebook. So for me, I haven't gotten to a point where I need to be over there as much, but I do have agents that I work with where Facebook is their thing. They've built a great community, great friendships there. They're in lots of groups. And so I would definitely encourage you, if you feel like you've got more people on Facebook, to definitely utilize this strategy there. And you can also utilize any of my strategies on any social platform. It's not limited to Instagram. That's where I started and grew and saw success, but I have had agents that have had great success even on platforms like LinkedIn, platforms, TikTok obviously comes and goes, but different platforms like that. And of course, Facebook, YouTube.
How do you trade it all on controversy? Like my sponsor over at Reels, a guy named Colton Lindsay, and Colton is basically a shock jock. Like he just tries to be controversial. Now his audience is real estate agents. He gets a lot of hate and he enjoys the hate. I imagine with consumers, I mean, are you trying to stir the pot at all, or is your main goal kindness, education? Like what is your 30,000 foot strategy?
So I think it depends totally on two things. Who is your ideal client? And also who are you? Because your personality is so important. And one of the things I constantly get asked by agents is like, well, what do I post? What do I post? What do I do? And I can tell you what to go post, but unless it's genuine to you, it's not going to be genuine to your audience. So what I would say to the answer of that is I approach my audience how I approach them in real life. And I would imagine your coach is probably one of those people where when he's coaching, that's how he coaches his agents. That's how he works with his clients. He's kind of that polarizing figure, which I love. And I can be that way too. For me, you know, I'm young. I'm in my late 20s. I just got engaged a few months ago. I'm in this very happy phase of my life. And so I try to actually focus my attention, at least with my real estate audience, not my coaching business, on just the joy of being in this phase of life and how amazing it is, and tapping into that common ground, whether they're young and getting married or older and growing a family or downsizing, whatever it is. I try to tap into that positive energy. With my coaching business, there's definitely a bit more of that, I would say, trying to rattle the cage a bit.
Stir the pot a little,
yeah, stir the pot. And I think my strategies are different than most real estate agents out there coaching. So I like to double down on that and say, like, you don't need reels. You don't have to go viral. You can have 100 followers and you can still strategically generate business.
Okay, my last question, and then I think we've got to wrap, Shalini. How do people get in touch with you? And is your coaching and mentorship, like I used to run a Facebook lead generation class, and there'd be people that would fly across the country to come to our office, and then they'd be like, hey, really quick, like, how do I log into Facebook? And I was like, whoa, like there is with you, is there a base level of understanding of the platform that someone would need before they engage with you? Or are you like, dude, if you don't even know how to use Instagram at all, I'm here for you. Like so how do people contact you, and what level should somebody be at when they engage with you?
Let me start with the second question. Yes, there's definitely a baseline level. So I do not teach how to use the app. That is something that there's plenty of people out there that teach that. I personally don't think I need to teach that. So I would say if you're someone that doesn't have an Instagram profile, you haven't been active on it, there's plenty of free resources out there. And honestly, Instagram's changing so much. All of us probably could benefit from going in and relearning what the capabilities are of the platform. Definitely the agents that I think like to learn from me, let me just share, you know, who would be an ideal client on the coaching side for me that I can guide, are people that want to utilize Instagram or social media, but understand the value and importance of having conversation and traditional lead generation. So I'm not really someone, if you're like, I want to be this big influencer, I want to do these amazing tour videos and all this, I don't teach that. I don't do it. I focus on how do I build actual connections and talk. So if you're like, I love to build connections, but I don't know where else to go outside of door knocking and cold calling, that's where I'm here to help. And so you do have to have a basic understanding of how to use the platform, because I won't teach you how to post or how to do it, but I'm teaching you how to apply my strategy to the basic tools that you know. And then as for how to get in touch with me, I'll actually share my screen again, just for you guys. I've got my stuff listed on here. So couple ways. So first of all, I do just want to mention, I wanted to put this on here. I'm actually doing a live masterclass training next week on sequencing. So it's going to be this exact conversation, but a lot more in depth, where we're going to really break it down even more and lots more hands-on. So that's going to be posted, the information for that on my Business of Real Estate page. So if you're interested in that, go ahead and follow me there so you can see the stuff this week. But otherwise, you can contact me living@withaleah.com. That's my email address. So take a note of that. I do have a website and I do have a shop. So if you guys, let me see if it'll click on here. I don't know if it'll let me click. I have a shop. So if you go to withaleah.com/shop, that's where all my resources are. In terms of the kind of coaching I do, I have a few one-on-one clients, but most of my coaching are resources, masterclass trainings, pre-recorded video courses. And then I also have a 10-week program that I run every couple of months, where it's a combination of video trainings with me and live sessions and things like that. My focus is all lead generation. So from social media to now starting to offer some programs that are focused on, again, maximizing your database, open houses, things like that. I don't teach anything on the transaction side. I don't really teach other stuff. I just focus on, you need leads, here's how we're going to go get them. So that is how you guys
I love how you've drilled down to what you do well. And I think it's so good, right? It's someone with your skill set, it's tempting to be everything to everybody. But I think it's so good to go like, guys, if you want to really be good at this one thing, I can help you. If you want to go be the next Glenda Baker, go call Glenda. Like, if you want to do this one thing, like, let's do it. And I'm here for you. I think that's great.
Yeah. Well, thank
So
you guys.
good.
I hope you guys got value out of this. I always love coaching and teaching, so don't hesitate to reach out, and I'll send you
100%.
guys tons of information for you guys to send out to the group.
Amazing.
Congrats
Thank
on
you
getting
so
engaged
much.
too. When's the big
Yeah.
day? Is this one of those like we're getting married in 5 years, or are we talking like
Kind
the
of. We're getting
fall?
married in Greece. We're both Greek American.
Oh, nice.
Okay.
So we're actually going to be getting married next summer in Greece. So we're just planning
Love it.
with our.
Beautiful.
So we're
That's
excited.
awesome.
Oh,
Congrats.
good. Love
Thank
it.
you.
Congratulations. Thank you so much. Like everyone just like throw some love for Aaliyah, like in the chat. That was just amazing. There were so many great comments, and I think lots of just like tactical things that everyone can take away and implement right away. So thank you so much. We'll make sure there was lots of people asking for this PDF. So we'll make sure that we get that out to everybody. And we'll see everyone next week. Same time, same
Time, same place.
Same time, back channel.
Yeah, our attraction series continues this Thursday, 9 a.m. Pacific, 12 o'clock Eastern, and everything in between from coast to coast. So if you are in the agent attraction world, we've got our next class is this Thursday morning at 9 a.m. So,
They're so good too. Thank you so much.
thanks, guys.